So in this video, we're going to look at an inter-VLAN routing method called router on a stick. So there are newer, slightly better ways to do inter-VLAN routing, such as layer-free switching, but router on a stick is still a very good method to know about and understand what it actually is. So let's just jump straight in. We're going to create a 2811 router. We'll stick a 2950 switch, 3 computers which are going to represent the 3 VLANs we're going to create to inter-VLAN route. So with these 3 VLANs, our physical network, our singular physical network, will be divided up into 3 logical networks, so 3 VLANs. And once we do that, they won't be able to communicate because they'll technically be totally separate networks. But using our router on a stick method, the router will be able to communicate and swap packets in between the 3 networks. So that's what this is all about. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to connect the router 00 to the switches 01. Connect each PC up to the next port. So O2, O3, and O4. Okay, so that's the scenario build. So first thing we need to do, we need to create our VLANs, give our VLANs IP addresses, and assign ports to our VLANs. So if you head over to the switches CLI, we need to go into enable mode, and then because we want to make configuration changes, config T, configuration terminal, and we're going to create the 3 VLANs, and the easiest way to do that is just type VLAN, then the number you want to use. And for this we're going to do VLAN 10, 20 and 30, and our IP address scheme is going to be 192.168 dot, then the VLAN number, so .10, .20 and .30. Alright, so we'll do the first one now, VLAN 10, and we're going to give it a name. We're going to just put name and we'll put staff. Right, so you don't have to exit this mode, you can carry on exactly where you are into the next VLAN. So VLAN 20, give that the name student, why not? And then we're going to create the third and final VLAN 30, and we'll put name, and we'll just call this guest for now, so it's actually got a name. Right, what we can do, to exit back to enable mode, you can do show VLAN. That's going to give you a rundown of the VLANs that exist on this switch. And as you can see, there's VLAN 1 default, which already exists and can't be deleted, and that has all of the ports currently assigned to it. You can also see the 3 ports we created, which have no ports assigned to them yet. But you can see them, you can see their name. So if we just break down, config T again, because we need to make some configuration changes. And we're going to treat the VLANs like interfaces. So int, and then we're going to VLAN 10, and we want to give it an IP address. So IP address, and it wants a 192.168.10.2, subnet 255.255.255.0. Once you've done that, you don't have to exit this mode, we can just jump straight into the next one. So int VLAN 20, we want to give this an IP address of 192.168.20.2, 255.255.255.0. And then the third and final VLAN, int VLAN 30, IP address 192.168.30.2, 255.255.250. So that's our 3 VLANs created, and they've got IP addresses. Now what we need to do, we need to assign some ports to them. So our first port that we're going to assign was 0/2. So int f 0/2. We need to set the port to an access port, so switch port mode access, and then we need to say what VLAN it's on. So switch port access VLAN, and this one's going to be VLAN 10. There we go. So we're going to move on to the next interface. So int f 0/3. We need to set it to an access port again. So switch port mode access, and then we need to set what VLAN it's in. So switch port access VLAN 20 this time. That's that done. And now for the last one, int f 0/4. Again, access port, so switch port mode access. This time it's VLAN 30, so switch port access VLAN 30. That's our 3 ports assigned to VLANs. So what we need to do now though, because we're not done with the switch, we need to set the port that goes from the switch to the router as a trunk port. So a trunk port allows multiple VLAN traffic to go up it, okay, to be communicated on. So what we need to do is go to int f0/1, because that's the connection to the router, and then switch port mode trunk this time. Right, so that's that sorted. What we can do is switch port, VLAN allowed 1 to 1005, and I have done that wrong. Switch port trunk allowed VLAN 1 to 1005. Sorry about that. So I missed out a keyword there and I got some in the wrong order. So switch port trunk allowed VLAN 1 to 1005. That's just a huge range. We could have specified the exact VLANs, or we could have specified a particular smaller range, but just for ease I just want to show you we can just do a whole great big range for this. So not great practice, but we're just going to do it. Right, so our trunk is now set up. What we're done with the switch, so we'll just exit back to enable mode, WRME, it's the configuration build. Close that. Now we've got some configuring to do on the router. So if you just pop open the router into its CLI, if you've got the configuration dialog, just hit no to that, enter. We need to tell the port that's connected, the switch is connected to be on, to no shut. So enable config T, and we know it's int f0/0 no shut. That's all you need to do in that port. Exit it so we don't accidentally do anything in it. That's all you need to do. It's now up and ready. We now need to create sub interfaces. So these are kind of like virtual fake interfaces based on this singular connection, which will act like each VLAN's plugged into its own port, but they're really all plugged in down this single cable. So to do that, all we need to do is int f, and it's the 0/0 port. But this time, with the slight differences, you put a point, and then whatever number you want to call this sub interface. So for good practice, I'm just going to call them the same numbers the VLANs are, so .10. There you go, so our sub interface now exists. So what we need to do first is give do encapsulation .1q, and then the VLAN that's going to be encapsulated on that line. Okay, so encap .1q, and this is VLAN 10. Now that we've done that, we can set an IP address for this sub interface. You can't set a sub interface IP address until it's been encapsulated, until it's had the .1q command run. So IP address, and this is going to be the default gateway of that VLAN. So 192.168.10.1 255.255.255.0. That's that sub interface done, complete. We need to create .20 and .30 and give them their IP addresses and their encapsulation. So int f0/0.20, that's the new sub interface created. Encap .1q, and this time it's VLAN 20. IP address 192.168.20.1 255.255.255.0. Finished. Third and final interface fa0/0.30. Encap .1q 30. IP address 192.168.30.1 255.255.0. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll just exit to enable mode, WRME. Now, although this is all up and running, you won't be able to do any pinging between these VLANs because these PCs, there's no DHCP here, these PCs haven't got IP addresses. So if we go to the first PC, desktop, IP address 192.168.10.3, because remember we used .2 in the VLAN. Default gateway is going to be our sub interface address, so that's 10.1. Then we're going to move on to the next PC, desktop, IP 192.168.20.3, and default gateway 192.168.20.1. Last PC, desktop IP 192.168.30.3, 192.168.30.1. So now all these PCs have IP addresses, they all have default gateways, they should all be able to ping the router and get a response. There we go, so all three have successfully pinged the router. Now we can ping between VLANs, and it's going to fail the first time, or not. Usually it does, but there you go. So that is now just being able to ping from one VLAN, oops, wrong thing, one VLAN to another. So you've got inter-VLAN routing now. And if you hover over the router, you can see now we've got fast Ethernet 0/0, and then underneath it your point 10, 20 and 30 with their IP addresses. So they're your fake, your sub-interfaces. You'll notice we've got the same MAC address as the original port. And that's it, you've successfully configured router on a stick. Hope that helped. Hope you can maybe use it in some of your scenarios, or I hope it's just explained something you didn't know. Try and hit subscribe. Hopefully there's some more videos going to come your way that you enjoy, you like, or that help you out. Thanks for watching. Cheers.